And hey everyone, welcome to a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. I have, sorry, but a favorite guest on with me today because he's a longtime friend in the industry, and I'm very excited to have Garret Gray with me here today. It's a great time to talk about trends. We're recording this in kind of early mid-November, and it has been an interesting few years in the industry. So we're going to talk about that a little bit and about InterConnect 2026 and all the things. So Garret, welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, for people who don't know you, which would seem crazy to me, but I'm sure maybe there are new people in the industry, share a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, so I actually started in the restoration space as a contractor, well, not a contractor myself, swinging hammers or sucking water out, but I have worked in the trenches and have been in multiple uh, clean out situations and black water and all that fun stuff. So I started in the restoration industry in the contractor space. Eventually figured out gosh, there was so much opportunity for getting off the paper monster train, which was
I remember that.
yeah, it was drowning our industry. And so it just became a passion of mine to figure out how to digitize and streamline a lot of what restoration contractors do, figuring out how to make them more profitable. We spent a lot of time with building businesses from a marketing standpoint. So that's sort of my base of understanding is the contractor lens. But over the last several years, it's expanded where now I'm actually everything that has to do with insurance for Cotality, which is a lot. We have 180 global model pairs for cat risk. We've got underwriting solutions and estimating solutions and collaboration tools for carriers and contractors to work together. So there's a lot under my remit, but I kind of approach everything from a contractor lens these days.
Yes, you do. So, okay, back in the days of founding Next Year, and you went through some acquisitions on your own, and then that was acquired by Cotality a few years ago. Now we were talking about that offline. Could you possibly have imagined this direction? Like, you clearly saw problems that needed to be solved in the industry. So, like, now that you look at the grand scheme of how things have gone, what's kind of your take on the evolution?
Yeah, I think that things have moved about like how I thought they would. Like I always thought that there was, even when Symbility was,
Mhm.
the estimating tool that we have to, today is based off of Symbility. Back in the day, I always thought, okay, there's always going to be a couple different things that are doing similar,
Yeah.
activities in our space. And whatever that is, like the idea of like bringing things together, connecting them, and letting people, choose and play with different tools is going to be important as technology evolves. And so I'm like proud of our industry. We're sort of like, there's a lot more
Yes.
change happening, a lot more embracing of technology from contractors. I was like early on, think 18 years ago, 20 years ago, preaching like you could do stuff from your cell phone, and like the technology was so different. Now it's like I think everyone gets it. You've got cell phones that have lidar and they can scan rooms and do diagramming for you, and I think what's so exciting about the time that we're in is, especially in restoration, is like we're still at the beginning of all of this. This is still this is like cutting edge, and there's a ton of investment going on, not just by Cotality, but ton of other players. You and I were both just at ITC, and so it's been it's crazy to see all of these things coming to fruition, and it's an exciting time to be in restoration.
It is. You can't walk through any trade show now without seeing just the plethora of options that are out there. It is really wild.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's talk about that's kind of the elephant in the room. The industry, the claims are down. The
yeah.
I and like homeowner behavior and how they file claims is down. There's kind of this whole elephant that's causing the way that restorers work and get jobs is shifting. So on the Cotality side, what have you guys seen maybe over the last 12 to 18 months when it comes to claim volume, those kind of things? How's the industry been changing?
So I we've seen this before, by the way. This is not the first time we've seen claims shift around. And a couple things that are driving it. I think weather has driven some of the lower claim volume. I mean, we didn't really have
No.
any major cats besides what we started the year off with, which I lived through in the Palisade
Yeah.
fires. And so yeah, there hasn't been the as severe weather that we've seen in years past. Obviously, I think that's not a trend that will continue. Like we're seeing on a macro level, the frequency and severity of weather events are going to be a tailwind, I should say, for our industry. Where that's probably this is going to be an odd year from that perspective. But there's also homeowner behavior that's changing,
Yep.
and we've seen that before. And I think like that will come. That's one of those things that the contractors I've seen that have been most successful wading through these periods aren't just reliant on programs, although they are definitely good at
Yep.
executing on program work, but they're diversified. So
Yep.
they have really good sales and marketing in their local communities. They have outreach that they're doing to plumbers and all sorts of other non-insurance pipeline streams. And so, my big encouragement to you is like, or to folks, if you are out there and you're seeing your claims, volume drop, look at what you're doing to augment that, and don't just be reliant on carrier programs, because it's going to get more competitive. And by the way, there's a ton of AI tools you can use in your own business that are completely outside of our industry about generating marketing materials, generating images, and really aggressively trying to fight for all those jobs that are out there.
Yes, absolutely. I love all that. Hit the nail on the head on all of it. So I'm curious, so you're talking about, you mentioned that this kind of thing has happened before. So historically, in your time in the industry, how have you seen kind of the correction happen? How have you seen kind of the new, like, is this a new normal? Will it shift back to I know it kind of ebbs and flows based on weather. Like, what do you think? Where are we going?
I no, I don't. So I think a couple things. One, anytime you see like economic hardship happening,
Hmm.
which we've been kind of seeing here with
Yeah.
inflation, et cetera,
Yep.
that's when you start to see people do more cash outs. They start to figure out, can my brother help me, do this, or can I live with this? And so that's what I'm saying. We've seen this before, and that's where fighting for every claim that is being filed, and the ones that are doing cash outs but still need to get the work done. It's important to be visible in your own community, and that's where you see most restoration providers excel, when they kind of have those multiple streams. But it generally is ebb and flow, and a lot of times has to do with the economic environment that we're in. And right now we're kind of in a little bit of a wonky economic environment. So I would expect it will probably come back the way it was, and the weather will come back. But I think what's interesting in these times is you start to see players, either fade off and not be able to handle the changes, or they actually take more market share and then they grow and they get even bigger when it kind of bounces back. And so this is a great time to like double down in your local marketing and figure out how to make sure claims that are out there are you're getting your share or more of those claims.
Totally agree. There are some contractors killing it right now, and then you hear the others that are relying
Yeah.
on, oh, well, the data says it's down, like, meh, and it's like, well, there are some things maybe you can do. So keep at it. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't
Uh,
don't don't surrender to the low claims, because what the worst part is like when it does bounce back, if your competitor has now taken the
yeah,
market share, then it might not bounce back for you. So this is a time where you dig in.
there's a whole bunch of tangents we could go on here, but I'm going to try to not do that. So,
Sure.
okay, so you sit in this really cool seat in the industry where you're kind of between carriers and restorers, and you see conversations on both sides. So, what have you seen kind of happen between, have you seen any relationships change or viewpoints change on the contractor or carrier side, more working together? Like, how have you seen that ecosystem shift at all?
I'm a little biased because a big part of what we're trying to do is bring people together. It's
Yep.
like so I'm a part of a lot of those conversations. And
Yes.
so if you're asking me, I don't know if every restoration contractor feels this way. I do feel like there's more like honest conversations
Yep.
happening, candid conversations happening, and I do like know from my um like seat that I sit with carriers, like there is a huge desire to collaborate and have a more efficient working together. Do is there different opinions on what
Of
profitability should
course.
be? Yes, of course, and that's always going to be there because you have just two different points of view. But in the end, like carriers do want healthy restoration firms. They want the capacity there. They understand there's this ebb and flow, and so there's a lot of understanding on both sides. And I do think the conversation, at least the ones that we're facilitating, are happening in a way that is at least illuminating to both sides. And I feel like that we're coming together closer. We got a lot of work to do for sure, but it does feel like we're at least trending in the right direction. If I were to compare it to like 10 years ago, like it's a lot better.
I agree with that. There's been a lot of conversations in different events that I've been at, even in the last few months, where it is clear that these conversations are happening. So we are starting to gain way between the two.
And I think contractors have been advocating for themselves. I think you've seen that in the pricing, like the
Yes.
in both our pricing and our competitors. I think you've seen a reconciliation around all of the costs that have gone up, and I think that's been reflective. And so, yeah, I think like contractors have done a good job, and RIA has been on fire lately. So like, there's just been a lot of, I think, great momentum and collaboration across all stakeholders.
I totally agree. So the number one pain point that we always hear from restorers right now, it kind of changes again every few years. There's a different pain point, but right now it is getting paid. It is payment cycles, and technology plays a big role in that. If we're taking the profitability and all of that out of the equation and literally just talking about payment cycles, what are you seeing kind of the best contractors do, especially in relation to technology, to help decrease those payment times?
Yeah, so uh, you know, one of the things that I am like living right now as a policyholder that is
Yeah.
actually filing a claim is like if you don't like get an answer from or you don't get an agreement with the adjuster in that moment, then what happens? It like takes days or weeks or sometimes forever to get a response, and that's what usually delays the payment process. And so one of the things I think contractors that are thinking about like the time value of money and thinking like, hey, I can fight for that $100 fee, or I can fight for this thing that I feel like I'm justified in getting, and you may be justified in getting, but what's the like if you could get agreement on that estimate faster and get paid faster, like what's that time value of money? And so like tools like Cotality has tools, other people have tools around tracking what are the expectations of different carriers, making sure you're writing each estimate kind of tailored to that carrier and their pet peeve. I always say pet peeves and loopholes. Like they've got pet peeves and you just like, don't hit them, right? And if there's areas where they don't care about certain things, then you got to make sure you know which carrier has which perspective. Because what you want, like a lot of the top 10 carriers use our tool to basically decide if the adjuster even needs to look at the estimate, and
Oh,
it's running through an algorithm that is custom to every carrier. So every carrier has different perspectives, but you can see it's kind of easy to see what their perspectives are.
mhm.
And if you score a certain score, even if there's some things on there that they don't agree with, they're just going to pay it too because they're thinking about the same thing. They're thinking, gosh, what is the cost to go fight about this $100 thing? So I I think the contractors are getting paid the fastest and actually are building better relationships with carriers are the ones that are embracing these tools on their side because carriers are embracing these tools. They're kind of smart money. So contractors, should embrace those same tools because you want to be smart money.
Yes, absolutely. What are some of the, I did a webinar with Caitlin not too long ago, and we were talking about like the sentiment tool, which I think was really cool. So, what other things are you able to kind of, I know that that's kind of, I think, already out, but what other things are you able to tease out that that's happening at Cotality?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton, and I don't want to take any of my thunder away from my
Not,
keynote that's coming in just like 10 weeks. Okay. So,
my gosh.
um, but some themes that I think you're going to see from us. Um, it's all about making things easier to do. Like I think technology has evolved to this place where like now it's a lot about refining and it's more about making it easier, making the user interface easier, interoperability. And AI to the point where like you don't even know that it's there, but it's there. Like meaning like we can look through photos and we can tag them for you, things that you used to have to do yourself, but now we have image analytics that can actually do that kind of stuff. And so, thinking about like we talked about last year, just walking around and talking to your device and having it build the scope items for you. Like, so there's a ton that's happening and that we've been working on. And I think it's all kind of centered around how do you just make everyone's life easier? How do we get things more accurate? And do it in a way that allows you to document it and get paid faster. And that's sort of the name of all of what we're focused on.
Okay, I want to talk about InterConnect before we wrap it up, but I want to touch on because you were just talking about AI. So before we kind of move on, touch on AI a little bit because, when I met you like 10 years ago, it was the paper monster conversation and trying to get
Yeah.
people away from paper. So now we're kind of in this new phase of moving from, okay, you've hopefully got like a robust job management system, you've got a good CRM, but now we need to take the technology again a step further. So what would you tell, there's a lot of contractors out there that either don't know where to start or they don't want to start because they're nervous about their data, they're nervous about their information, whatever that may be. So what do you tell the contractors that are like, I don't know where to start and I don't know what to do with this AI piece of restoration now?
Yeah, like one thing that I'm excited to see, and I don't know, like I haven't done like a survey on this, so I don't have any data around this, but like I know like 2 years ago when I was using chatbots for all silly things to like, figure out if my kid had touched a poison frog or not, taking a picture of the frog. And I was like paranoid. I've talked about that before, use it to design birthday cards and invites and stuff like that. So like I was like so proud of myself. I was like cutting edge of that a couple years ago. What I think is a lot of people have caught up to that. And like that seems to be like, I think even in our industry, we have people who are really playing with it in
Yes.
that way. Even just, this is people sort of look down on this, but I think this is actually still great. Like even the way you search the internet is changing, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
you can ask a more intelligent question and it will give you an actual answer back, and then you can like adjust how you prompt to it. So I my sense is that contractors have caught up to a lot of that stuff. But I also feel like it's probably likely that a lot of contractors feel the way I feel right now, which is like, okay, that was generative AI. Now there's agentic AI.
Yeah.
And like, holy, this came like up so fast. Like, and it's so, me personally, and I actually will talk a lot about this at InterConnect. I felt like I was ahead of the curve, a year ago, and now I feel a little bit behind the curve. And so there's a lot of work that we're doing as a team to make sure that like we're ahead of this agentic wave. And a lot of carriers are going to skip generative AI and go right to agentic because there is a lot of people have already kind of haven't done anything to implement agentic AI, or excuse me, a generative AI, and now agentic is here. So AI is changing, and some people might not even know what I'm talking about with agentic AI. So, but like there's all different types of AI that are being implemented, and I guess my overall point is like it's like a fast moving river,
Mhm.
and if you don't get in, you're not going to go with it. It's just going to keep passing you by, and so you just got to get in and start playing with it, and then it gets easier and easier and easier, just like any other technology. Like you can imagine, like what you do on your phone today and what you thought you could do on some people were like struggling with email just 20 years ago. So like it you'll get there if you just start playing with it.
It is, technology is amazing. I was just thinking about, because you were talking about struggling with email. I remember my first smartphone, I had one of the Androids, like that
Okay.
very original Android. That thing
Yeah.
was a terrible phone. It did not work. It was terrible.
I
Um,
thought I would never get off my BlackBerry, and then
my husband is the same. He swore
yeah,
by his BlackBerry for as long as possible. No
yeah.
chirping. No, thank you. That was Nextel, which got anyway.
I remember that. Yeah.
I digress. Okay, let's talk about InterConnect. You guys are moving to the East Coast, which is super exciting. So we're
Yes.
going to DC, right? January
Yes.
20th through 22nd, I think.
Not
So,
necessarily the best weather, but it's going to be like, it's still
okay.
our nation's capital. It's a great place to come. We're at a Gaylord, so the weather isn't going to be a problem. You kind of get the indoor outdoor feel, and so you got lots of space and lots of cool restaurants. But yeah, we've been like, I like doing it on the West Coast, but we've been getting a lot of requests from clients and contractors like, hey, you got to come to the East Coast. And so we wanted to give Washington, D.C. a try.
I'm excited. I think it'll be great. I had a friend who was just at that Gaylord a few weeks ago for a conference, and she gave
Beautiful.
me the lowdown on all the restaurants and stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be great. Okay, so what are you most excited about for 2026?
Yeah. So 2026 interconnect, is that what you're asking?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, InterConnect
So
2026.
so this has been like an evolution for us of like how we're talking about ourselves and kind of what we're, trying to accomplish in the industry. And this, I don't want to call this a culmination, but like, this, it's crazy. I was saying to you offline, like this will be our like fourth year.
It's crazy to me.
It's been over almost five. We're getting closer to 5 years of me being at Cotality after next year getting acquired. And, we had this huge vision and, like we're sort of like on the road where what
Mhm.
we were describing. And so this, I don't want to call it a culmination, but it really is a kind of an unleashing of a new era for us. And part of what like we want to be talking about is, you know, intelligence beyond bounds is sort of our theme. And intelligence is something that we try to bring to the table and do bring to the table. But intelligence is more than us. It's actually everyone in the room and how they're contributing to that intelligence and how we're thinking together. And so if you look back at our previous themes, it's always been about building things together, collaborating, trying to build something better than what we have today. And intelligence beyond bound is like recognizing like when you have the data, and what's so cool about Cotality is like the deep property data we have from other non-insurance segments. So all the mortgage data that we have, all of the tax processing data, all the real estate, almost every single property that goes onto an MLS and that gets transacted goes through our technology. And we're able to take that and bring that to our contractors so that they actually know what they're walking into ahead of time. They know that if you're walking into a high-end house or something that doesn't have the same finishings. And so it's really about those who are embracing all the different types of intelligence, some which we provide, some that other provide, and some that you provide, and tying it all together in a way that gives you actionable insights so that you can actually outcompete, be more profitable, and give a better product to policyholders.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. What do you tell people that are like, oh, I've never been to InterConnect. It seems like a technology show. I don't know. Is it for me? What do you tell people that have never been?
So this is what I would say, especially this has been no one has done this outside of us that I know of. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but we build different content for every
Yeah.
single role in a restoration firm. So the idea is it's not one that you just come as an owner and go just network. Networking is great and there's a lot of that. But this is where you bring at least one person from every one of your your kind of roles. So like the coordinators and estimators and general managers and accounting and marketing, and they learn best practices. And then we try to tie it all together so that you have a plan to go back and change your company for the next year. And so that's something I think that's really unique about InterConnect, that it's actually like tailored to each individual role for restoration. I'll tell you, like, that's a lot of work for us. Like like the content is something that we really pride ourselves in, and it's because we want to actually make an impact on restoration contractors. And so that I think that's the main takeaway is like bring your team, figure out best practices, figure out what you want to do and how you want to change your company, and make those your change champions when you go back to your offices. It's a big sacrifice to bring people that many people. Totally get it, but I think those who do that get the most out of the event.
I agree. And there aren't other conferences that do that. And I can attest to your team really puts a lot into it. I mean, months ago they started on the content. It's not just accepting anybody that submits a pitch. Like they will hone in on exactly the messaging that they think needs to go in that track, whether it's accounting or the owner's track or whatever it may be. So hats off to your team for that because I know putting content together is hard and it's hard to differentiate that from other shows because there are so many in our space. So definitely hats off to you.
There's also a great production value, I have to say. We put a lot of time, especially into the keynote and like the whole event. The vibe is like this is where you want to go like connect with people. And the vibe isn't just about like making us look like we're trying to be young and fresh. The vibe is actually there is intentionally set to make people collaborate and think and figure out how to operate better. And I firmly believe like when you go to like a conference and you're inspired, you leave and do something different. If you go and you're kind of bored, like the content could have been the same, but it doesn't prompt you and your people to go make some really big change.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, anything else for Interconnect that you want to tease out? Any fun additions? Anything new?
I mean, there's gonna no, I'm going to hold all of my
Okay,
secrets
that's fair.
for my keynote because a lot of work goes into that. But no, I do think like one question I always get for people who come every year is, okay, like I don't think you can do a better job than you did last year. So should I like not come because it's gonna like there's no way you're gonna top last year? I still think we figured out a way to top even last year's. And last year's I think was like pretty neat in terms of the production value. And so we've got some really interesting tricks up our sleeves to really make sure that the content is immersive and that you get the most out of it.
I think I will forever be sad because of the date change last year that I missed the whole Core Logic to Cotality rebrand. I heard about it afterward and what it took, and from a marketing person, I was like, man, I missed like this huge unveiling and like all the lanyard changes and all the
I mean,
logos everywhere. That's insane.
everyone walked into the conference branded CoreLogic, and then in the middle of the keynote, our team completely rebranded the entire conference with Cotality, which was so much fun.
That's an insane undertaking. So
Yeah.
that should give people a teaser of the production value behind this. If you can do a full rebrand mid-conference, imagine what they can do if, I'm guessing you're not rebranding again. So imagine what they
No.
can do without a rebrand in the middle.
Or pushing, having to push
Moving.
your conference out 2 months in a kind of a rush fashion after big fires. So yeah.
Hats off to all of you. May this year be much smoother.
Yes.
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 Okay, Garrett, anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up? Okay, wait. I'd love for you to just answer one more question related to industry trends. What do you see now as kind of the biggest disruptor on the horizon? The biggest thing kind of you're watching from your seat?
I mean, it'd be cliche to say AI, but I do actually think that's what it is. And it's not a disruptor in the way that you think. Like, I think what it's going to really do is separate those who are able to operate in the new world and those who can't, and it's going to happen really fast. And so, we're even dealing with our employees, right? Like we have a bunch of AI initiatives, and then the question is, well, is this going to replace me? And so the natural like human instinct is like, well, if I'm afraid it's going to replace me, I'm going to like try to block it and like, and try to not do anything that helps it move forward. My advice to my employees, my advice to restoration contractors, like it's an impossible thing to block. So if you're blocking it, you're going to get pushed over, and it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, something is going to disrupt you. But if you are embracing it and figuring out how you're now disrupting other people because you figured out how to use AI in a way that is more competitive, like that's going to separate the next generation of restoration contractors. And so there's no like magic bullet to just like be disruptive to our industry. But I do think there's going to be a big difference, a lot of winners and losers based on how people embrace the coming technology. And this has been true for a long time, but it's moving faster now than it's ever moved.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. And there are already some companies that I'm sure both you and I know that have really leveraged AI and they're doing really well and getting
That's
leads
right.
and business from other places and they figured it out.
And those who like sometimes people don't even know that's what's happening to them. They don't know that's why their claim volume is falling because somebody in their area is figuring out how to pull market share and they're using these new tools. So it highly recommend find, and if you feel like, okay, I'm too old for this, like hire someone young. Like teenagers are building companies using these tools. Like you can find somebody that can help you really transform your operations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like needing a social media person back in the day. Hire somebody that was like straight out of high school or college. They will handle your social media all day
100%.
long. Same thing.
Yes. Politicians are doing it, right? Like they've got like kids handling their social media. We can invest in the younger generation to kind of help us embrace what's new.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so for people who are listening, get registered for InterConnect. I think there might still be early bird going on as of when we record this.
Oh, November 30th. So yes, if
Okay.
you're coming, get your ticket before November 30th because the price goes up. Pay
Yes. So InterConnect without an E, so INTR connect.cotality.com is where you can find it, or the CNR events calendar, or the top of the CNR website. You can find
just
it anywhere.
Google
Just
or
Google it. You'll find
ChatGPT.
it. Go to AI, do a
Yeah.
search in your favorite platform and find it. Get registered. Garrett, I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you.
For more restoration today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.